Hello everyone, I'm Anthropomantic Fiend, and I do horror-related things on the internet, and although this video is not as horror-centric, I do have some very horror-centric news to plug really quick. My great friend Tristan, Collector Man, is going to be doing a live stream watching The Return of the Living Dead this Friday at 9 p.m., and I'm going to be on the stream with him. And it's one of my favorite zombie movies. It's set in my city, although it looks nothing like my city in the movie, but I think that's going to be a really fun time. He hasn't had a huge amount of time to promote the stream ahead of time, so I'm going to do that here. I will link his channel below, and you'll probably be seeing him posting a lot of stuff about the stream in the very near future. But with that out of the way, this is once again my favorite songs of the month segment, where I'm going to run down a handful of several songs that I listened to last month that I really enjoyed. They don't have to be new releases, but they do have to be things that are relatively new to me, whether I'm discovering for the first time or I haven't heard it in years and it's a rediscovery and I'm becoming more obsessed with it now. It just has to be new to me in some way. I do this because I love running my mouth about music, but also because I love sharing music with people and hearing what they think. And if you're watching this because you want to find something new to listen to, I will be linking a YouTube playlist with all of these songs on it, a Spotify playlist with all of these songs on it, and my personal favorite songs Spotify playlist, which has over 1,000 songs on it, all of which I love. So if you like the sound of anything I mention on here, feel free to check out those playlists and listen for yourself. So without further ado, here are my favorite songs of June 2021. So first off, we have The Cursed Muse by Seven Spires, and I've talked about Seven Spires a lot on here before. I don't know exactly what style of metal I would classify them as, probably symphonic metal generally, but they kind of lean into some more power metal-y stuff that sounds like a band like Camelot, maybe occasionally Nightwish. They also lean into the more extreme side of symphonic metal with some very black metal and death metal inflected stuff that sounds like Cradle of Filth and Dimmu Borgir and Flesh God Apocalypse. You're gonna be hearing a lot more about Seven Spires on this particular list, but this one made it because it slipped through my fingers somehow before because I'm obsessed with Seven Spires, but they've been releasing several new singles lately and they just have not been popping out in the YouTube algorithm to me for some stupid reason. So that one's kind of one of the shorter ones, so if you just want a little taste of what Seven Spires has to offer, that's a really good one. It has the more aggressive growly side of things as well as the more melodic side of things. It really showcases Adrian Cowan's great versatility as a vocalist and just the phenomenal musicianship all around. Next up, we have Painkiller by Bird Eats Baby, and no, this is not a cover of the Judas Priest song, although I do love that song, but Bird Eats Baby is another band I've talked about on here before. They kind of started out as this kind of weird, slightly progressive cabaret gothic punk thing, which they still are, but they've really leaned into the more heavy metal and dark progressive influences with a lot of sounds on their stuff reminiscent of bands like, say, Tool or Opeth. And this song is definitely very much of that side of Bird Eats Baby. It's very guitar driven and very heavy, but it's also got their signature piano stuff going on, Michigan Fitzgerald's great vocals. I think she even does some growling on this song. I might be misremembering, but that is definitely a new side of her that I had not heard before and I really liked. And the music video for the song is just gorgeous as well. It's really channeling a kind of surreal gothic aesthetic that's right in my wheelhouse. So next up we have more Seven Spires with the acoustic version of Silvery Moon. I've been listening to Silvery Moon since I bought the Emerald Seas album last year. I absolutely love the song, but very recently I was on a little vacation to Michigan with my family. We visited Lake Michigan, which was beautiful, And I was also reading The Vampire Lestat at the time, which has a lot of travel by sea, a lot of just travel around the world in general, and a very kind of dark romantic vibe. Emerald Seas is an album about sea travel that also has a very dark romantic vibe, and the song Silvery Moon in particular started to remind me of the kind of feels I was getting from reading The Vampire Lestat, between seeing Lake Michigan, which looks a lot like the ocean but isn't and is gorgeous, reading The Vampire Lestat and listening to Emerald Seas. All of that just really created a whole new vibe that really connected me with that particular song more than I had been before, and I wanted to share it with some people, so I went on YouTube to find it, and I realized there was an acoustic version that I'd never heard before. It's just as gorgeous as the original version, but it is a live recording. It's all acoustic guitars and piano and Adrian's vocals, and it is really, really beautiful. Even though I like the kind of heavy elements that come in towards the middle of the album version of Silvery Moon, I like the slightly different texture that the acoustic version has. Next up we have Powerwolf featuring Alyssa White-Gluz with Demons Are Our Girl's Best Friend, which is a remake of an earlier Powerwolf song because they had released Demons Are Our Girl's Best Friend before, but Alyssa was not part of that. The lyrics were a little bit different, and the original version of the song is kind of about these girls kind of having these night visitations from demons, and it's a very sexual, weird thing, and the video features like weird, sexy nuns. It's weird. But it is a really good, really catchy song, as a lot of Powerwolf's stuff is. When I saw that Alyssa, who is the vocalist for Arch Enemy currently, also previously of The Agonist, had recorded a new version of the song with them, I was very intrigued, so I listened to it and I watched the video, and I like it a lot more than the original version because she has taken it and twisted it so the lyrics are from the demon's perspective. The video kind of features her as the queen of the demons, enslaving these male characters within this church, and she's taken the original vocal lines and she's delivering them with a growly vocal. Just all of her super elaborate, over-the-top demon queen outfits in the video are just really fun as well. So next up we have another song that is kind of Seven Spires and kind of not. I say that because this is predominantly done by members of Seven Spires, but there's also maybe one or two other musicians involved that are not of. I will clear up who all is involved with this with some text down below, but this is a cover of Progenies of the Great Apocalypse by Dimmu Borgir, who I've already mentioned. They are an iconic symphonic black metal band. The cover itself is not particularly different from what Dimmu Borgir did on the original song, but I am just kind of in love with Adrian's particular vocal style, and something about the slightly different production and slightly different flair that they brought to some of the instrumentation made it really fresh and really fun for me. So if you're a fan of Dimmu Borgir, I highly recommend this version of the song. Next we have Floor Jansen and Henk Poort with their cover of Dangerous Game, which is a song from the Jekyll and Hyde musical, which I have not seen for years. I saw it live once, but I have not really seen it or listened to anything from it since. But Floor Jansen, talked about her a lot before. She's the current vocalist for Nightwish. She's been in a lot of other past projects that I love. And a couple of years ago, she was on the Dutch reality show Beste Zangers, which I believe translates to Best Singers, which also featured Henk Poort, who I believe is best known for doing Dutch musical theater. He played the Phantom in Phantom of the Opera, and he and Floor actually did a version of Phantom of the Opera together for that show that is amazing. So they decided to team up again to do another musical theater song here, and it's just as awesome. They both have really powerful theatrical styles of voice, that really lend themselves to both musical theater and metal, and they do put a slight hard rock metal twist on the song here that I thought was really fun. Next up, we have Auri with Pearl Diving, and Auri is another offshoot of Nightwish. It is the side project of Tuomas, who is the keyboardist and main composer of all of Nightwish's stuff, as well as his wife and great singer in her own right, Joanna Krikela, and Troy Donackley, who plays pipes and other assorted instruments in Nightwish. It is not metal, it is a very laid-back, ethereal, folk-inflected, but also just kind of ambient, floaty, somewhat symphonic sound with just a little bit of a rock elements. They released one album just called Auri a few years ago that I have played nonstop. I've kind of turned my parents on to some of the music as well. It's just really beautiful music that's great for when I want something that's a little bit more chill than my usual metal. And they are finally releasing Auri 2, which has the subtitle Those Who Must Be Kept, later this year, I think sometime in September. This track is very typical of what they've done with Auri before. It really leans into a lot of nautical and sea imagery in a way that I thought was really beautiful and low-key made me miss Lake Michigan again, even though that's absolutely not the ocean, but it also just has that beautiful, ethereal, using that word again, fantasy vibe that a lot of Auri's stuff has, and kind of transports you to another world to some extent. And next up, we have another Seven Spires song. They released another single, which might be my favorite song of theirs right now, and that is Gods of Debauchery. That is the title track off of their upcoming album, and it is one of the heaviest things I've heard from them in a while. It really leans into the symphonic death metal aspect of everything. There's also a few passages in the middle that really remind me of a band like Children of Bodom. It's almost 8 minutes long, but the way they are able to build up from this very stripped back beginning to something that is just massive sounding is just wonderful, and I absolutely love the video for this track as well. It features the whole band in this very gothic Victorian attire that's akin to what they've done before, but feels especially gothic here. They've got candelabras up on stage, and there's just this whole almost vampiric vibe to the whole video that just made me love everything about the song and video even more. Next up is Jonathan Davis with Forsaken. Shortly after I finished The Vampire Lestat, I started reading Queen of the Damned, and at the very beginning of this month, Freaky Girls Live did an episode on We Summon the Darkness and the movie of Queen of the Damned, which I hadn't watched in a while, so I watched it. It's not a great adaptation of the book at all, really, although Aaliyah as Akasha kind of nails it, but I do absolutely love the music. This song in particular, I hadn't heard it in a while now, so it was nice to revisit it. It is very much of Jonathan Davis, who is the lead singer of Korn's kind of new metal style, but has a little bit of a slightly darker, more vampiric kind of vibe to it. And I also love the accompanying fake music video for the song that we get in the movie, because it is a total homage to The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is one of my favorite silent horror movies. And finally, we have what is probably the weirdest song on this list, and that is I Ordered a Taxi Driver, Not a Taxidermy by Trollhaugen. I think that's how you pronounce their name. They're a really weird metal band. I'm not really sure where they are from or how you would classify their music, but if you're into weird genre-bendy stuff like Mr. Bungle or Diablo Swing Orchestra, I think you will enjoy their stuff. But they kind of lean into trolling the listener with their music even more. There's just some weird stuff going on with this song, but that kind of commitment to being weird is what made me fall in love with the song. At the same time, it's also just really fun and catchy. The lyrics are exactly what the title sounds like. It is about someone who tries to order a taxi and accidentally orders a taxidermy for himself. A weird concept, not sure what they were trying to do with it, but it's really fun to listen to. This song jumps between really crazy metal passages to loungy sounding parts to a part that sounds like some form of techno music to a short a cappella section. The part of the song that is saying, "I ordered a taxi driver, not a taxidermy," has this weird, really weird choppy rhythm that seems like it's just written to line up with the syllables of someone saying that, and it always throws me a little bit when I listen to it, but that's kind of part of the fun. And it's also really weird in that it has some parts that kind of just sound like those robotic voices that you hear coming out of your phone, kind of like a Siri voice, that are kind of singing the lyrics in points during the song. It's very strange, but the whole song is kind of meant to be a phone conversation, so that definitely lends itself to that vibe. I don't know if anyone here is gonna like this song as much as I do. I'm not entirely sure why I like it, but I think it's because they just commit to how weird the song is, and it's actually legitimately good songwriting and musicianship. So those are my favorite songs I listened to in June. Once again, I will be linking the playlists I mentioned at the beginning of the video in the description. Thank you for watching my video, and hopefully I will see you in another one. Bye.
Speaking in couplets and drinking our wine, the glow of the dawn comes too soon, just to